The bar was loud that night, the kind of chaos that hums through the walls and seeps into your veins. Pool balls cracked against one another. Laughter echoed too sharply, and the air was thick with smoke and sweat. But amid that familiar noise, tension gathered like a storm waiting to break. At the center of it stood a man, broad-shouldered, tattooed, his presence enough to quiet a room when he wanted to. His name was Ryder, leader of the Iron Vultures Biker Club, a man both feared and respected in equal measure. Yet, that night, it wasn't power that would make people remember him. It was the moment he lost his temper, and what came after, something that would change him, and everyone in that bar forever. Before we dive deeper into this emotional story, if you believe in kindness, redemption, and second chances, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it. Because stories like this remind us that even the toughest hearts can still be moved by compassion. Ryder had been on edge all week. A deal gone wrong, a brother from his club locked up, and whispers of betrayal swirling through his crew. When he walked into Jack's Roadhouse, he wasn't looking for peace. He was looking for a reason to explode. The bar was dimly lit, country rock humming from the jukebox, and regulars nursed their beers quietly until his gang came in. Among the workers was Lena, the new waitress. She was young, maybe late 20s, with steady hands and tired eyes that had seen more than her age should have allowed. Her white shirt was neatly tucked in, her hair tied back, and she moved with quiet grace, never looking anyone directly in the eyes for too long. She was kind, polite, and distant, the kind of person who blended into the background. But that night, fate pulled her straight into the center of the storm. Ryder had ordered a drink, whiskey neat, and when Lena accidentally spilled a few drops on his vest, he snapped. He stood up so fast his chair clattered. To the floor, the entire bar falling silent. She stammered an apology, her voice trembling, but his anger was already burning hot. "You think you can mess with me?" he growled, stepping closer, the air around him charged with fury. Lena froze, clutching her notepad like a shield. The men around the bar shifted uneasily. No one wanted to cross Ryder, not even when he was clearly in the wrong. He reached out, gripping the collar of her shirt. His voice dropped low, almost a growl, as he demanded she look him in the eye. But she didn't. Her gaze fell to the floor, silent, pleading. And then, in one thoughtless, angry motion, Ryder yanked. The fabric tore, buttons scattered, and the entire bar gasped in shock. But what they saw next turned every ounce of noise into stunned silence. On Lena's chest, just above her heart, was a large tattoo, not of a flower, not of a symbol, but of a badge. It was worn, faded, and surrounded by burn scars. The ink read, "For my father, Officer James Hale, fallen but never forgotten." Ryder froze. His hand trembled where it still clutched the torn fabric. The entire bar watched as confusion, then realization, dawned in his eyes. The tattoo wasn't just a memorial. It was pain carved into her skin, a story that none of them knew. Lena took a shaky breath, clutching her shirt closed as tears welled in her eyes. The silence was suffocating. For the first time in years, Ryder felt something heavy in his chest, shame. No one moved, no one dared speak. And then Lena whispered, barely audible, "He died saving a biker." The words hit Ryder harder than any punch ever could. His hand dropped to his side, and for a moment, he couldn't breathe. He looked at her, truly looked, and saw the depth of sorrow she carried. Not fear, not anger, but a quiet endurance. The rest of the bar was frozen, their eyes darting between the two of them, unsure if they were about to witness a fight or a breakdown. Ryder stepped back slowly, his voice rough and uncertain. "A biker?" he managed to say, but Lena only nodded, eyes glistening. The room felt like it had stopped spinning. Ryder's mind flashed back to years ago, to the chaos of a crash on a deserted road, flames licking the sky, and sirens in the distance. He remembered running, not toward the scene, but away from it. One of his old crew members had crashed after a chase with the cops. Ryder had heard the explosion, seen the fire, and he had fled. The next morning, he'd read the news. A police officer had died pulling that biker from the wreck. That had been the day Ryder buried his guilt under layers of tattoos, whiskey, and violence. And now, that officer's daughter stood before him. He took another step back, his heart hammering. The anger that had fueled him moments before was gone, replaced by something raw and unfamiliar: remorse. He wanted to speak, to apologize, to explain, but the words stuck in his throat. Lena, trembling, held her torn shirt together and whispered, "You don't know what people carry." Then she turned and walked toward the back door, leaving Ryder standing there, hollow. The entire bar remained silent until the door closed behind her. Then whispers began, low and uneasy. No one dared approach Ryder. He just stood there, eyes distant, hands shaking. It was like the walls had come down, the armor he'd built over years of pain suddenly stripped away. He left the bar without another word, the sound of his boots echoing against the floor like a confession. That night, he didn't go home. He rode for hours through the cold wind and empty streets until he found himself parked outside the old church on the edge of town. He sat on the steps, staring at his hands. The same hands that had hurt people, broken things, carried regrets. For the first time in years, he felt tears on his face. He hadn't cried since his brother had died. But this was different. This was shame and sorrow and clarity all rolled into one. Over the next few days, Ryder didn't show up at the bar. The gang whispered that something had changed in him. Some said he was losing his edge, others said he'd found something he'd been missing all along. The truth was simpler. He couldn't shake the image of Lena's eyes, the pain behind them, or the realization that her father's death was somehow tied to his own past. On the fourth day, he showed up at the diner across town, the same one Lena worked at during the day. He waited quietly at a corner booth, hands clasped, the usual swagger gone from his posture. When she finally noticed him, her face went pale. He didn't move. He just waited until she finished serving a customer and came over. "Why are you here?" she asked softly, her voice wary. Ryder looked up, his voice hoarse. "Because I think I owe you more than an apology." He told her everything, about that night years ago, about the crash, the guilt, the cowardice. He told her how he'd read the story in the paper and how it had haunted him. Lena stood there, frozen, listening as tears streamed down her face. When he finished, there was a long silence between them, the kind that stretches across lifetimes of pain. Then she whispered, "You were there?" He nodded slowly, his eyes heavy with regret. "I was there, and I ran." The diner was quiet except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. Then Lena did something he didn't expect. She sat down across from him. Her voice trembled, but her words were steady. "My father, he always said people make mistakes. He believed in giving people a chance to change. He died doing that." Ryder broke down. The weight of everything, the years of guilt, the anger, the emptiness, all came crashing down. He covered his face with his hands, shoulders shaking as he whispered, "I don't know how to fix what I've done." Lena reached out, placing her hand gently over his. "You can start by not being the man who ran anymore." That single sentence changed everything. From that day forward, Ryder stopped, leading the Iron Vultures into chaos. He started helping the same town he once terrorized, repairing bikes for free, organizing charity rides, mentoring kids who were drifting down the same road he once walked. And every week, without fail, he left flowers at the memorial for Officer James Hale. He never told anyone why, but Lena knew. Months passed, and the town slowly began to see Ryder in a new light. He wasn't perfect. He still carried the rough edges of a man who lived hard, but there was something different in his eyes now. Peace, maybe. Or purpose. One night, Lena walked into Jack's Roadhouse again, the same bar where everything had started. The place went quiet when Ryder stood up to greet her. The same men who had once watched in silence now nodded with quiet respect. She smiled faintly and said, "I guess you found your way." Ryder looked around the bar, the same smoky air, the same creaking floorboards, and smiled back. "Maybe I just stopped running." As they stood there, the hum of the jukebox playing softly in the background, it felt like the world had come full circle. A place once marked by anger had become a place of quiet redemption. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, it's never too late to change, to make amends, or to find the good buried deep within us. Special request: comment below. Do you believe people can truly change if they're given a second chance? Because sometimes all it takes is one moment of truth to thaw even the coldest heart. and one act of kindness to remind us that redemption is always possible, even in the unlikeliest of places.